Soleimani assassination. Everyone believes that the USA killed Soleimani because he represented an imminent threat against Americans. Trump repeated this constantly. The media repeated it without question. Politicians from both parties agreed. It became accepted truth. But NBC News discovered something completely different. 5 Trump administration officials confirmed a shocking revelation. The order to kill Soleimani was pre-authorized 7 months before the assassination, June 2019, not January 2020. The authorization had only 2 conditions: Trump's final approval and that it be used if Iranian aggression resulted in the death of an American. The attack on K1 base in December 2019 that killed an American contractor was never conclusively attributed to the Iranian Kataib Hezbollah. The New York Times reported that Iraqi officials said they had no direct evidence connecting the group to the attack, suggesting that ISIS could be the real culprit. The official justification changed multiple times in the following days. Pompeo publicly admitted he didn't know precisely when or where the supposed threat would be. Defense Secretary Esper directly contradicted Trump about 4 supposedly threatened embassies. I saw no evidence of that. Even Republican lawmakers were outraged. Mike Lee and Rand Paul classified the intelligence briefings as insulting and completely without evidence. The official White House memorandum to Congress in February 2020 completely abandoned the imminent threat language. The UN Special Rapporteur on Extrajudicial Executions concluded arbitrary and illegal execution. Nuclear deal collapse. The common narrative is that Iran was cheating on the nuclear deal from the beginning, and Trump was smart to withdraw the United States. This version spread quickly and is now repeated as established fact, but official documents show exactly the opposite. 15 consecutive reports from the International Atomic Energy Agency between January 2016 and May 2019 confirmed the same thing. Iran was fully complying with all JCPOA obligations. The U.S. Congressional Research Service, a nonpartisan congressional body, is crystal clear. Until July 2019, all official IAEA reports indicated that Iran had met its nuclear commitments. The real chronology of events is simple and devastating. The USA unilaterally withdrew from the agreement in May 2018. Iran remained complying with all obligations for 14 more complete months. Only then, in May 2019, did it begin gradual and limited violations. Europe desperately tried to save the agreement by creating Instex, a complex financial mechanism to allow trade with Iran bypassing American sanctions. The result, after 4 years of operation, a single transaction of 500,000 euros in medical supplies. A total and humiliating failure. Biden had the historic opportunity to correct Trump's error, but made a fatal strategic mistake. He demanded that Iran return to full compliance first, even though it was the USA that violated the agreement first. The Arms Control Association documents the consequence. Initial Iranian violations were rapidly reversible, until they weren't anymore. Did Iran really command Hamas? The day after the October 7th attack, the Wall Street Journal published a report that would shape the entire global perception of the event. The headline was categorical: Iran helped plan Hamas's attack on Israel over several weeks. Within hours, this version became universally accepted truth, but official American intelligence tells a completely different story. The 2024 Annual Threat Assessment from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, a document representing the official consensus of all 18 U.S. intelligence agencies, is categorical and unequivocal. We assess that Iranian leaders did not orchestrate or have foreknowledge of Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7th. The Deputy Director of National Intelligence personally informed American senators that the intelligence community possessed sophisticated and reliable intelligence demonstrating that Iranian leaders were completely caught by surprise by the attack. President Biden himself declared publicly, "There's no evidence of that at this point." Even more revealing, the Wall Street Journal itself had serious internal problems with its initial report. The publication Semaphore subsequently revealed that veteran reporters from the prestigious Washington Bureau vigorously contested the story before publication, arguing they could not independently confirm the central allegations. The story was published over the explicit objections of experienced staff. The primary sources for the report? Anonymous members of Hamas and Hezbollah, exactly the entities that had clear political motivation to involve Iran in the conflict and internationalize the crisis. Retaliation patterns. The popular image of Iran in Western media is of a completely irrational actor that always escalates conflicts to the maximum possible. Hollywood movies, TV analyses, and newspaper editorials constantly repeat Iranians don't know how to do anything but blow everything up, but a cold analysis of the data shows a completely opposite behavioral pattern. Soleimani assassinated in January 2020. Iran launched 15 to 16 ballistic missiles against al-Assad base in Iraq, but warned the Iraqi government 90 minutes in advance. Iraq immediately passed the warning to American military. Result, 0 American deaths. Trump later confirmed in 2024 that Iran had diplomatically informed about its intention to attack without causing casualties. Fakhrizadeh assassinated in November 2020. Iran launched no direct military response. Instead, the Iranian parliament voted to increase uranium enrichment to 20%, a political and diplomatic response, not military. Operation True Promise 1 in April 2024. Iran fired approximately 300 projectiles against Israel, but with 72 complete hours of advance warning through regional diplomatic channels. The Institute for the Study of War officially assessed that the attack was probably intended to cause significant damage, but below the threshold that would provoke a massive Israeli response. October 2024, Israel completely destroyed Iran's S-300 air defense systems, eliminating virtually all Iranian defensive capability. Iran's response? Deliberately chose not to retaliate militarily. The pattern is crystal clear. For 4 consecutive years, Iran demonstrated documented strategic patience. Carefully calibrated retaliations, advanced diplomatic warnings, public declarations of matter closed after each limited response. U.S. military posture. Defense or offensive preparation. Every official American communication about Middle East operations consistently uses the same language. Defense, protection of allies. Deterrence, freedom of navigation. The Pentagon, State Department, and White House speak exclusively about defensive and reactive nature, but the raw numbers tell a completely different story. The United States currently operates 19 permanent and semi-permanent military bases in the Middle East, strategically distributed across Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Jordan, United Arab Emirates, and Syria, forming a geographically complete strategic encirclement around Iran. No country in modern history has ever maintained such a concentration of military power around an adversary during nominally peaceful times. The military personnel escalation is equally revealing. Approximately 34,000 American military were positioned in the region before October 2023. After the Hamas attacks, this number jumped to over 43,000. In January to February 2026, the concentration reached levels not seen since the 2003 Iraq invasion. Equipment sent includes unequivocally offensive capabilities, 2 complete nuclear aircraft carrier groups, over 120 advanced combat aircraft, and significantly, 12 F-22 Raptor fighters deployed to Israel's Avda base, marking the first time in history that American offensive weapons were positioned on Israeli soil. The Geopolitical Monitor observed that the F-22 is specifically optimized for air superiority and long-range precision strikes in highly contested airspace environments. The deployment suggests preparation for military scenarios involving advanced air defenses of state adversaries. Brown University calculated the total cost, between $31 to $34 billion spent on regional operations in just 2 years. Israeli campaign. Israel is consistently portrayed in international media as a country that reacts defensively to external threats, especially Iranian ones. The standard narrative presents Israel responding to provocations and attacks, protecting its civilian population from terrorist aggressions. But Israel's own official military doctrine documents a completely different operational reality. The Maybam strategy, Maybam Bayin Milhamat, or campaign between wars, officially codified in the Israel Defense Forces strategy document in 2015, is by definition explicitly offensive and proactive. The document makes clear this is not about responding to specific threats. It's described as continuous campaign of low-intensity offensive operations during nominally peaceful times. The documented operational scale is impressive. Until December 2017, over 100 attacks were officially confirmed in Syria alone. Until March 2022, Israeli sources spoke openly about thousands dozens of airstrikes conducted in the previous 5 years. After October 2023, intensity increased dramatically, over 50 attacks in just 6 months, resulting in the death of at least 18 high-ranking IRGC Iranian officers. Assassinations are systematically planned decades in advance. 5 Iranian nuclear scientists were killed between 2010 to 2020. Mohsen Fakhrizadeh specifically was tracked and targeted for over 20 consecutive years. The New York Times revealed that then Mossad chief Yossi Cohen personally presented detailed operation plans to Trump, Pompeo, and CYA Director Gina Haspel, who formally approved the execution. Sabotage operations complement the assassinations. Stuxnet virus in 2010, massive explosion at Natanz in July 2020, coordinated attacks on Iranian electrical grid in April 2021. Proxy war. The dominant narrative in Washington, Tel Aviv, and Western capitals consistently portrays the so-called axis of resistance as disciplined Iranian puppets following direct orders from Tehran. This version suggests rigid hierarchical control, with Iranian commanders dictating strategy and tactics to obedient proxies. Academic and intelligence evidence documents a much more complex and decentralized operational reality. The Century Foundation, after extensive research, definitively concluded Iran appears to be at the center of a loose network of aligned organizations, not at the top of a rigidly controlled hierarchical alliance. The prestigious Chatham House documented that specifically after Soleimani's assassination, the axis clearly transitioned from a top-down organization to a structure with members possessing significantly greater operational autonomy. Examples of independence are numerous and well documented. Hamas dramatically broke with Iran during the Syrian war between 2012 to 13, actively supporting Sunni rebels, while Iran provided massive military support to the Assad regime. In March 2026, Hamas publicly asked Iran to completely stop attacking Gulf countries, a direct and public opposition to the supposed controller. The Houthis in Yemen control effective sovereign territory and manufacture an impressive 20 tons daily of their own weapons using indigenous industrial capacity. Their attacks on the United Arab Emirates in 2022 were explicitly contrary to Iranian diplomatic objectives in the region. Qasem Soleimani was personally the crucial coordination link. His successor, Esmail Khani, was previously an administrative assistant with operational experience limited to the Afghan theater, not the complex Levant. The Washington Institute documented that Khani consistently failed to maintain effective control and remains extremely concerned about his personal security. 2026 trigger. The official American justification for the 2026 war was that Iran was dangerously close to developing nuclear weapons, requiring urgent preventive military action to protect regional allies and global interests. American official intelligence itself frontally contradicted this public narrative. In March 2025, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard formally testified before Congress that Iran is not actively building a nuclear weapon. Simultaneously, the International Atomic Energy Agency officially maintained there were no credible indications of a structured nuclear weapons program in Iran. The temporal irony is devastating. On February 25th, 2026, exactly 3 days before American attacks began, Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian publicly declared that a historic nuclear agreement was genuinely within reach of the parties. The Omani chancellor mediating the secret negotiations independently confirmed that Iran had formally agreed to degrade its existing nuclear stockpiles to the lowest technically possible level. The subsequent chronology reveals clear premeditation. February 23rd, Netanyahu informs Trump about Khamenei's precise location. February 24th, Trump publicly accuses Iran in the State of the Union of nuclear violations. Subsequent intelligence reports called these allegations completely unfounded. February 28th, coordinated attacks kill Khamenei during active and progressing diplomatic negotiations. The Arms Control Association was categorical. This was a deliberate war of choice against Iran, conducted without constitutional authorization from Congress, simultaneously violating the American Constitution, the War Powers Act, and the United Nations Charter.